Just getting to the gym after a day of work. Can't wait to get this chest pump in. Good old Konquer Fit. Heck yeah. All right. Yo, man, what's going on?
Yo, what's up, brother?
And getting ready to hit this chest day.
Nah, bro, it's leg day.
Fuck, man.
Hey guys, welcome to the Konquer Fit Podcast. I am Chad Kratz, owner of Konquer Fit Personal Training. This is Jeff Brandt, my co-host here. Welcome to our first show. What we're going to talk about today, we probably reeled you in with the how to lose 100 pounds in 100 days. That was a trick. We're sorry, but we're not. We're actually going to go over those and why we, truly don't believe in that methodology here. So to start off with, my name is Chad Kratz. I've been a personal trainer for 10 years. I have a background in exercise rehab and also working with people that need some corrective exercise, not just losing weight. Jeff, tell the people who you are.
Yeah, so like Chad said, Jeff Brandt. I've been a member at Konquer Fit, brick and mortar now for 18 months. Been working out seriously now for probably the last 3 years, right? Before then, it was just your average gym goer, not really sure what I was doing, just going in there and working out, right? So I have a background in PT, but that's not what I do. I'm working the Fortune 100 lifestyle, right? So that's where I sold my soul, and that's what brought me kind of back over to Chad, and we're gonna kind of talk through the lose 100 pounds in 100 days, 60 pounds in 60 days, or whatever those challenges are that you're being sold on, and really what led me to find Chad and how I was a victim, more or less, of that, right? So that's where we're going to get into kind of our first topic of this podcast, and just kind of talk you through Chad's methodology and what we believe what works, and not how I was sold on it, how I became a believer on it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing we should talk about, obviously, lose 100 pounds in 100 days, right?
Yep.
Obviously, you've been through quite a weight loss journey yourself.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years.
Yep. Since 2019.
Okay.
So
first things first, right? 8-week challenge, right? 12-week challenge, whatever we want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we believe that they work?
Well, so what discipline does it teach you? Right?
Sure.
So, you go through these 8 weeks, you go through these 12 weeks, and then you haven't learned any discipline. You haven't learned a relationship, with your gym or your workout regimen. And then also, what about your calories? What about your nutrition?
And the psychological aspect of food, right?
Yeah, so
because there's a reason why you're overeating.
Yep.
It's not just because it tastes good.
No, so you get into these challenges, and there's no doubt, we talked about this, it works for some people.
Yeah.
Right? But is it longevity, or is it temporary?
Well, and is it the quick fix? It's like the equivalent of a get rich quick scheme, right? Like,
and us as Americans, that's what we want.
We love it. Easy button.
Yep.
I want it.
Take a pill, let me go about my day. But that's not how it works.
Yeah. So, and I think you touched on it. I think, if we're looking at the aspects of why don't they work for the long term. Well, generally, if I'm doing a 12-week challenge, it's usually preceding something, right?
Yep.
A holiday, or in our case here in the States, a holiday season. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? We're trying to do something before we get into that.
Yeah, 3 major that people are just
bam, bam, bam. And I think the other one is maybe like, my gym is offering a 12-week challenge before I go on vacation, or some of these televised workouts where it's just press play and do your thing. The reason why I think that model is broken is you just hit on it. I don't think it truly teaches us longevity, right? It's more about how much movement to how little movement per day are we doing? Are you eating the proper nutrient dense diet, right? And I'm not saying that one diet's good or bad, or and we'll touch on what you did to get to where you're initially at. But ultimately, is that diet nutrient dense for you? Are you getting enough to build enough muscle and be an effective metabolic burning system, right? And I think you would agree with that.
100%.
I don't necessarily want to beat my head against the wall and just keep doing, a bunch of cardio. And that's what we have to differentiate. A lot of these franchise gyms base their stuff on cardio. Well, cardio is designed just to burn calories. It's not really designed to build muscle and make you more metabolically sound as a whole. Because if I have more muscle in my body, I'm going to burn more calories at rest when I'm doing nothing. And that's the key, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and and not that there's anything against any of those big commercial gyms, anything like that, right? What Chad is, putting out there for his clientele, I think really hits home with people, because I may be one of your youngest clients.
Yeah, I think you're the second youngest, actually.
And I'm no spring chicken at 36 years of age, and Chad's got people in here who are outlifting me. Some little old ladies that they show up and perform on leg day, right? Because it's the longevity of how we want to do this, and so it's nothing against those other gyms. Right?
No, it's move forever.
Yeah,
and that's the methodology.
You
here
have
at Konquer Fit.
you have those programs that it's 8 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is, and that's great, and people do see results in that.
Yeah.
But then what happens after that, right? And that's kind of what we're tying back to is
Yep.
you get off the wagon, and all of a sudden, I've got 8 weeks, I've lost 15 pounds, I'm feeling great, and now there's no accountability. I'm getting back into my old lifestyle, my old habits.
Well, and I think the other thing there too, Jeff, that we need to touch base on is, are we truly losing that weight healthfully? If I'm losing 30 pounds in 8 weeks, is that really the healthful way to go about that? On average, most people will lose somewhere between 1 to 3 pounds a week, right? So if I did that math, that's 8 to 24 pounds. I'm still 6 pounds under 30, even at the top. And that's if I'm perfect. That's if I'm nailing my macros, I'm nailing my workouts, and metabolically everything is sound. Nothing's against me. On average, realistically, most people are somewhere between a half a pound and 1.5. I mean, I almost have nobody that's really at 2 to 3 pounds. And again, there's caveats to that. If you're a larger person, you're generally, if you start doing something and you've been doing nothing, you're going to shed weight pretty quickly. But we also have to get control of that and ahead of that pretty quickly, so that we make sure that those aren't quick fix results and that those results continue to last.
No, absolutely. You've said it best. It's it's not healthy, and we talk about the physical aspect of it, and then you also hear the mental aspect of it.
Yeah. What's your connection to food?
But when we're losing that much weight that quickly, what about the nervous aspect of it? We never really talk about that, right?
No.
What are we crashing? What are we causing more issues to? We're just thinking, I'm losing weight, the scale's telling me I'm going down, everything's fantastic.
So if I'm physically healthy, I'm mentally healthy, which not always is the case.
So how do you once again, I'm not going to use the word sell, but how do you get your clients to buy into this? That, hey, this is what I'm putting out there.
Yeah.
And this is how I see it. This is how I believe you can live a long, healthy life.
So that's actually a great question. So the way I've approached it is, I tend to not ask the question of, because I think a lot of trainers will start with, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think they lead in with, well, what do you see the next couple months, 3 months of your life looking like if you don't do something? Whereas I pose the question, what does the next 20 years look like? At 36, if you don't get a wraparound, truly health, not necessarily aesthetics, bigger muscles and that kind of thing, but health, if you don't get ahead of it now, what does 56 look like? What does 66 look like? Right? And I think that is what kind of gets people thinking about, well, yeah, man, I really can't, because again, we talked about a lot of my clients are older.
Yeah.
And, if I'm telling you what does the next 20 years look like at 60, what does 80 look like? And you're like, well, I can't really bend down to pick something off the floor. If you have grandkids, I can't get down to play with them because my back hurts or whatever. Being more muscular is more sound for those things. It makes those things better. And, if we're doing it the right way, another great feature of exercise and monitoring, a good diet is we do lose weight. And it's easier on the joints.
Yeah.
It's easier on the body.
Simple math at that point.
It's simple math. And so I like that you said that it wasn't a selling, because I don't sell people. I tell you, I mean, anybody can tell you what exercise is.
Yeah.
I don't have to sell you on what exercise is. So, you know, a lot of it honestly comes down to personality, you know. I think some people like me and some people are like, man, fuck this guy, I hate him. Like, and that's the realism of it. Yeah. You're truly, when you're looking at a trainer, you're looking at their personality. Mm-hmm. And I think to go a step further, I think you go into methodology. What's the methodology? Do you believe in what they're saying their results are? It's the reason why, if you look at any of my pages, you don't really see a whole lot of before and afters, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of things that I track aren't necessarily before and afters. I'm tracking your movement. Yeah. Are you moving better?
I didn't want to interrupt you with that, but that's, you know, when I first started following you on social media, that's where I noticed it was a lot of your clients, and it was just the movements. And then you look at it, you're like, Chad's posting a video of this client doing squats. You're like, okay, you know, big deal. But then as you watch it, it's 2 to 4 seconds down. It's 2 to 4 seconds on the hold.
Yeah.
It's 2 to 4 seconds up. It's the breathing around it, right? It's just not, hey, can I squat 225, 315, 405 for
sure.
How many reps, right? It's, you can hear the cues in the background, and you know, you can see that person is taking that serious, and
yeah,
you know, that's how you're getting that commitment, right?
Well, and I think that's a separation too. Like if you look at most of my social media pages, yeah, there are some images of me. For the most part, it's me either teaching something or showing something or explaining something. But for the most part, you see my clients, and there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. The reason I direct it that way is because I think you lose the credibility if I'm just sitting there with my shirt off and I'm telling you that aesthetics really aren't the thing that matters. It's the movement.
Yeah,
if that was the
belief or motivational post.
If that was the point, why did I have my shirt off? Yeah. Like that doesn't make any sense. So like I just don't, and I'm not the most jacked guy. You know, I don't have a background in being an athlete or anything like that. You know, I just truly love physical fitness, mm-hmm. and I love pushing my body. I love it that physical fitness is not something that you can cheat or you can pay for. You literally just have to do the work. That's the only way to get to the end point. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about it, I think. So yeah, I don't really sell anybody, man. I kind of give them the facts of what I know I can do. And I base everything off of, you know, an initial assessment of looking at you and seeing what you're doing and what I can fix.
Yeah.
I can't fix anything until I see it. And that goes to nutrition, exercise, everything. And I don't know how anybody can. I don't know how I automatically just say, yeah, man, your macros need to be this, 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 and this, but I have no clue what you're doing. For all I know, you're already doing that. And let's say that's not working. I just told you to do the exact same thing you're already doing. I didn't actually verify what you're doing so that I can modify or change or adapt.
Down that black hole of all these online programs that people are constantly falling into. So for your brand, how are you competing with those programs? How are you trying to get people into the door? And
yep.
And you know, we can touch a little bit on my story. You know, I worked out at a different facility that Chad was the trainer at.
Yep.
And
that's where we met, actually.
That's where we met. Separated ways. Chad decided it was time to start brick and mortar, which is, you know, where we're shooting this podcast is at Konquer Fit. So, you know, I decided, I kind of had a couple of interactions with you, and I'm like, I really like what he's telling me. And I had asked Chad for a couple of spots during a couple of lifts that were tough at the time, and never once did I get a remark, hey man, that was $5, right? It was, hey, anytime
I'm not nickel and diming you.
Yeah, anytime you need a spot, come get me, because my number one rule is don't die, right? Number two is don't suck. But number one is don't die.
Really need to get those on the wall somewhere.
Yeah. Exactly. And so that's, you know, when Chad said, hey, you know, it's been great to get to know you. Well, you've been at this other facility, but I'm opening up my own brick and mortar. I'm like, you know what? I can get a workout in there as well as I can get in here. And at least there, you know, I have a little bit more accountability with the relationship that I've grown with Chad. And so that's what led me here. So for me, you know, it was a pretty easy sale. Once again, I use that word.
Well, and I was face to face with you. So it was an easy interaction of, hey man, I'm Ghost. Like, are you going to be down or not be down? And you know, and it's a choice from there. And I think that's the thing that I don't really have an answer to your question.
Yeah.
And here's why. My head is kind of against the wall of 50 to 70 years of bad fitness advice. Mm-hmm. And it's what you see in all of these programs, all of these work out in 20 minutes a day and you'll attain the body you want. Do this diet and you don't need to exercise at all. All of these things are based in some type of small lie, and not that these companies are lying to you on purpose. They're doing what they have to, their business. They have to make money. Yep. But I think for me, I don't see how those work because none of the studies back them. I mean, 20-minute workout per day of some small dumbbells in your living room or some jumping jacks in your living room, you're not going to look like Arnold. Yeah. It's not going to happen, man. And, that's what we're sold on all these, celebrity trainers, and you see them, but they don't even do those workouts as their main form of workout. They might do them as an add-on, but that's not their main thing. So I think where I try to bring people in, as I try to bring it in is, as a trainer, there tends to be this lie that we can guarantee you results. And I can't. I can guarantee you that I will be with you every step of the way.
It's accountability.
I can guarantee that all day long. Guaranteeing you that, after the 2 hours a week that I see you, that you're being perfect on your diet and you're doing the homework that I gave you, I can't be there for that. Like, I can ask a question.
Yeah.
Hey, man, didn't see you track your walk today. Did you get that walk in? You could tell me, yeah, and you could totally be lying to me. I don't know that, Luckily, I've weeded out the clients that I have, and I've geared them towards really digging into the methodology, and so I trust that they're doing it. And I have the app, and they track within that as well. So I think I've done well at that aspect of it. I think where the mainstream industry of fitness is going, I think there's only a few people out there that are counterintuitive to the mainstream fitness industry, and I think some of those are, one of my favorite podcasts, Mind Pump. I love those guys.
Yeah.
They are counterintuitive to mainstream fitness because they do believe in corrective exercise. They do believe in managing a nutritional diet and then filling in with supplements when necessary. It's not force-fed cardio and you must do keto, and if you eat this food will make you fat. There's no truth in that whatsoever.
Yeah, if you buy this program, you're guaranteed to lose this much weight. It's like the guy selling V-Shred. Right?
Yeah.
We talked about that numerous times. Like, that person doesn't bring you in. They don't do an evaluation. They don't see how you move.
Yeah, you hit play on a TV, and then they never correct anything.
And that was probably one of the biggest eye-openers that really got me invested in Konquer Fit. It was the longevity, first off, and then it was the movement. And it's how well can you move without weight? It's like, you can bench over 400 pounds.
I'm great.
What do I care about how I can move without weight?
Yeah.
Can you do 20 push-ups? That's a great question. Can you do 20 squats? Can you do 20 dips? And at the time, it was 10.
Yeah.
Right? And so
or 10 pull-ups.
10 pull-ups.
Whatever it is.
That was what sold me on and what you were preaching, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I became to, also bring in other people. I turned my wife onto it. I turned my brother onto it. And, they're still doing it. Right?
They're still doing it to this day.
There was no pressure for me. It's like they saw what I was doing, and
actually, even when I talk to them, it's like I'm talking to an extension of you. It's literally just that easy. Hey, man, saw you put up some numbers today, man. Awesome, great job. Like, oh yeah, man, really pumped on this workout today, And so I think that's the enjoyment I get out of it. I want to kind of turn the corner here.
Yeah.
So we've talked about how the method is different in longevity, but really what I want to get into today, because we've talked about these quick fix programs. When I met you, you had already lost a sizable amount of weight.
Yeah. So when you and I first started talking, I had lost 60 pounds.
And what was your beginning weight?
I was 410 pounds.
So pretty large guy.
Yep, 6'4" at the time. Still 6'3.5". A couple neck surgeries. So
neck surgeries, might have shrunk a little bit.
So 410 pounds. Was working out at a place where Chad was also at. That's the previous gym we were talking about.
Yep.
And I was doing strict keto.
Okay,
right?
so how many calories were you on?
So I was on 1,500 calories a day.
And how did you feel?
So I didn't feel great.
Yeah, and this is after losing 60 pounds.
Right? So
And you just said, I didn't feel great.
Nope.
And you kind of did the...
Yeah. So the scale that I was stepping on, it's like, hey, that's 350 pounds. And that 60 pounds was lost in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
So I lost 60 pounds from January 4th to about the end of March. And
that's fast.
That's extremely quick. But that also, it led to an injury, right?
Yep.
At that point in early April, I had ruptured a disc between my C5 and 6 and my C6 and 7. And I ended up having to have my 5, 6, and 7, my neck fused together.
Yep.
And then I had to go the next 9 months at 0 weight bearing, right?
Yep.
So then, I interacted with Chad a little bit during that time. I'm mostly on the treadmill, getting a walk in or elliptical, something like that, right? And then I got the all clear to start lifting again.
Yep.
And so I started lifting again. Like every typical gym bro, I got back into the habit of it's as much weight as you can push.
Yep.
Right?
As much as possible, as fast as possible.
No leg days, all upper body. My old saying, upside down Dorito. Right?
Upside down Dorito.
Big
I think
chest,
you did. I think the
legs.
first day I met you, I think you did 6 variations of a shoulder press, and I'm like, those are all the same thing.
Yep. And so we'll fast forward to at that point it's going to be 2020. Not quite. There wasn't that pandemic. We won't say the name.
Yep.
That pandemic hadn't quite hit, but I was moving a substantial amount of weight, but I was still doing keto, right? So here I am. At this point, I think I had dropped down to about 340 pounds, and I'm on 1,500 calories a day, less than 20 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm trying to move all the same weight, and I'm doing this 7 days a week.
Yeah.
There is no rest. And finally, I remember I was doing a bench day, and I come up to Chad and say, hey, Chad, I need a spot, man. We're going to go 225 for a set of 10, right?
Yep.
I gassed out at around 6, and you're like, how you feeling? Well, I feel terrible. Well, why? Well, I just had, spine fusion not even 13, 14 months ago. Yeah, but you look like crap. And I'm like,
big bags under your eyes.
I may have the bags in the video now, but I got a 2-year-old who doesn't sleep.
The monster is out now.
So anyways, we started talking, and this is literally, you had a client that was walking on a treadmill.
Yep.
And you took time out of their session to talk to me, and there was no, hey, I'll send you the bill later. It's like, hey man, can we talk for 5-10 minutes? I'm like,
yeah.
I don't need you to tell me what to do. I can move weight, right?
Yeah, I got this.
And you're like, I challenge you to up your carbs to about 50 grams, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's
just
scary
double it
for you. Just double it for now, Jeff, and tell me how you feel. And so I'm like, so I go home, I start doing a little bit of research, and I'm like, no, keto's the way to do it. Keto's the way to do it. And then I started adding in some more carbs, and things started to move better per se, like joints didn't hurt, whatnot. And then you guys had the split between yourself and the gym that you're at.
Yep.
You opened up this place, and I think at that point I was probably up to an additional 20 pounds, so 80 altogether.
Yep.
And then I started working out here. And then
what changed then?
So, at first, nothing. At
Yep.
first, remember, I came in here, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to be a member, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, it was the support.
Yep. But then I plateaued for probably 6 weeks. Nothing moved. I wasn't gaining muscle. I wasn't gaining strength. I wasn't losing any weight. There was nothing going on.
Yeah.
I was just coming in here, going through the motions. That was it. Right?
Yep.
I was a typical, big gym member that I wasn't seeing the results. And then,
Yep. You were just kind of going through the motions at that point.
And so I remember being on the treadmill one day, and I'm like, not like brought to tears, but I'm like, Chad, we got to talk.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't know what to do. Right? I had the previous background in physical therapy. I'll never claim that I know anything about it because I've never used it, right? I got the degree.
Never actually been in it. Yeah.
I got the degree to make somebody happy, right? But I need help. And so that's where we sat down. We went through what my goals were, right? And at first, my goals were I want to get back to lifting as much weight as possible. I want to be able to bench press. I want to go back over 4 wheels, 4 plates again.
And I remember that. I remember saying, I want 4 plates on that bar, Chad. And I'm like, but why though?
Yep. And so we started talking, and it probably took, even after the initial conversation, I bet you it took 2 more weeks of me talking to you. You weren't pressing it on me like, Jeff,
Yeah.
you need to do this. It was, hey, Chad, you got a minute to talk? Nobody's in here. I just want to get your thoughts. What would you do? Because, I was so used to doing 15 presses every chest day, 15 presses every shoulder day.
Yep.
If I was doing legs, it was the quickest workout of the week, right?
Yeah.
And so
fucking 4-hour workouts.
And so finally, we sat down in the office. You took some measurements, and we went through hey, what if we put you on this type of program? I just want to see how you move, and we'll see how everything feels.
Yeah.
And if you feel that I'm not doing you justice, dude, you can quit anytime.
Yeah.
So I went home, told the wife, you know what? I'm gonna sign up for a program with Chad at the gym, and we're gonna go through it. And so that was my first true working out with you. You telling me, hey man, yeah, you can move weight on the bench press, but you're bouncing it, you're not controlling it, you're not engaging your lats, you're not doing anything. You're literally just letting the bar hit the chest and then you're going.
Yeah, you're putting pressure in your neck where you just had that fusion and doing all this crazy movement stuff that's gonna eventually deter you from the real goal that you want anyway.
Yep. So I ended up coming on as working underneath Chad as far as his programs, and ended up losing at that point an additional 90 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So I started off at 410. I worked my way all the way down to 240.
Yep.
Right. And then recently, I did have another injury that occurred, and it wasn't anything that necessarily led to it, but I did have another.
It was a cumulative injury, we can say.
I did have another disc in my neck fail, and so right now I'm currently rehabbing. I just got the okay from the doctor to go ahead and start moving 25 pounds. And so, you and I are going to sit down, come up with the game plan.
Yep.
Get me back.
We're going to do the same thing we did the first time.
Get me back on a regiment. That way, when it comes time for me to be able to move weight, that I'm able to move the weight I want to, healthy. But, circling back around, the biggest thing that you did for me was that mental block.
Yeah.
I think, I even saw that when my best friend and my wife got turned on to your program.
Yeah.
Longevity. And don't confuse it, because I keep saying program, but for Chad, it's longevity, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the biggest thing for me, was that mental block, because I always had this preconceived notion, I'm a big guy, right? I used to be able to move a lot of weight.
And I just want to move big weight.
I just want to move big weight. If you're not moving big weight, if you're not lifting heavy, then it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
You're just wasting time. But you got me into the mindset that if I'm controlling the weight, that workout is as tough or 100 times harder than just moving weight.
Yeah, I think we've had the conversation of how hard the body weight workout was.
Fuck
in and
body
of
weight,
itself. Push-ups, pull-ups, dips, and squats. I mean,
I'll tell you.
Dude, that's the hardest workout I had all week. And you're like, why? Because it's moving your body. And I think, the biggest thing we can say about getting results is consistency, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter when you start, stop, come back to it, do it again. If you're not consistent, that's going to be your game killer every time.
Yeah.
And, I like to tell a lot of people, you can go do these big, huge programs that are multi-million-dollar companies, but they're not individualized and, they change consistently. And I always tell people, for me, I do the same movements every week. I might change from a dumbbell to a barbell to a cable, but for the most part, the movements are basically the same. And I think where people get it wrong is they don't realize that truly getting results is boring.
Yeah.
It's doing the same thing day in, day out all the time.
Yep.
And I think that's what we've got to change in the culture, is getting people more to that aspect of, hey man, I just got to be consistent, and I've got to do the same things consistently every day, whether that's eating, whether that's mindfulness, your sleep. Your sleep plays a big role in your recovery and your muscle building. So all of those things have to be, let's say, full baskets, right? I can't do, they say, what's the number? 80-20, right? It's 80% your diet, 20% what you're doing in the gym. How about every basket's 100? So I'll draw baskets in front of clients and go, okay, 100% in this basket, 100% in this basket, 100% in this basket. Nutrition, where you at? Oh man, I'm at like 30%. Okay. So we're below a failing grade there.
Plenty of room to work.
Exercise, where are we at? Oh man, I'm at 90% easily. Okay, well, we're gonna take a look at that one. I see that you say you're giving 90%, but when's the last time you changed your weight? When's the last time you changed your movement? When's the last time you looked at your movement and didn't just try to push heavy weight. Let's look at that in that basket. Mindfulness and recovery is your third basket. So where's your recovery at? How do you sleep? How do you recover? Is your protein intake adequate? All of that thing is in this third basket over here. I don't sleep very well. I really don't pay attention to any of that stuff. Okay, so this basket's at 30%. So you're failing in 2 out of the 3 baskets. And you say you're doing good at the one, but then I run into people like you all the time. They're like, yeah, man, I've been doing the same program for 12 years. And you've never changed the reps, you've never changed the weight, you've never changed the scheme, you've never done like a 3-2, 3 days on, 2 days off. Like, you've never changed anything. That's mind-blowing to me. Like, it's like, no,
it was 3 years, I was consistent, you gotta do the same damn thing.
The same thing every day. Like, it's just wild. So, obviously I've appreciated you coming in, and obviously we've built a friendship. And driving and helping me get to this, teaching the community about, this is about the long term. This is about your health. This is not about who has the biggest muscles, who can lift the biggest thing. This is not a King Kong contest of who's the more badass person in the gym. Because ultimately, everyone loses that battle.
Yeah, there's always bigger fish, right?
There's always bigger fish, and man, it's cool. You can deadlift 600 pounds, or you can do a muscle up. What value does that have at 80, 90, 100? If we so are lucky enough to make it that far.
Yeah.
It doesn't really hold much value then, but getting down and tying your shoes or putting your shoes on, picking a box up off the floor and putting it on the counter, that holds a whole lot of value.
Yeah.
And if I can teach you to move better and do that stuff and not hurt your back and not hurt your shoulders and not hurt your elbows or your knees, I just think there's more value in that.
Yeah, I'm gonna misquote it. I know I will. But there's a statistic out there when it comes to age and falls, right? So I think it's over the age of 60 that an individual who experiences a fall has a 30% chance of dying.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere along those lines.
Which, if you think about it, at the age of 60, if you fall, and we're not talking greater than 4 feet, we're talking from either a seated or a standing position, there's potentially a 30% chance of you dying. Right.
Yeah.
And so, when we had talked about this podcast and what we really wanted to push out, and I shouldn't say push, but the message that we wanted to get out there, I had no problem sitting down and be like, dude, I want to be a part of this, right? Because I've experienced it firsthand. I went from, Chad, we got to get back to 405 so we can get up to 495, get 5 wheels on a bar, to I've got 3 little girls at home. I want to be able to walk them down the aisle. I want to be able to have their first dance, right?
Yeah.
If they so choose to. And there's a lot of things that I'd still like to do with my wife. I want to explore this world, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're still...
And benching 405,
young dudes.
benching 495, that doesn't do that for you. But if someone like you comes in and you continue to help me develop in my movement, that right there, I have no problem pushing that out to the world and saying, hey, my main man right here, he's a personal trainer. And then most people look at it as like, oh, that's an added expense.
It's a luxury.
It's a luxury.
It's a luxury, and it's like, but it's not. It's a necessity.
It's healthcare.
Yeah.
Right?
Invest now or pay later.
100%. We talk about it now. Do you want to pay on the front end or do you want to pay on the back end?
Yeah.
It's a lot more expensive on the back end.
A lot more expensive on the back end. Look at the surgeries in America. What's a hip surgery? $70,000.
Yeah.
On the low side.
And that doesn't go into anything afterwards, right? That's just to fix the problem.
That's the parts of the doctor's time.
Yep, that's
and that's it. So I think that's what we came together for this. So I think that's pretty good for the first episode. I think we hit on a lot there. I know we kind of tricked you guys at the beginning with our title here, but there's kind of a joking reason for that. But the big thing here, guys, is start your fitness, be consistent with it. As we go on this journey with this Konquer Fit podcast, the biggest thing is we're going to relate fitness to your life. We're going to have some fun with it. We're going to
absolutely
probably joke around with some politics at some point. We're probably going to talk about anime or comic books because we're both big nerds.
Yep.
But we really want you guys to come along for the ride with us and stay on this journey with us, and we hope that you learn something along the way. So you can find me and Konquer Fit at Konquer Fit QC on Instagram. Jeff, where can they find you on Instagram?
Instagram is XR1200XCR. We're going to post links down below in case you want to see what we've been up to within our personal lives on social media and whatnot, and seeing what we're posting. And what we got out there for you all.
Absolutely. So, hey, guys, thanks for joining us. Until next time, stay tuned, stay healthy, and think about that longevity.
Just don't suck.